5 young boys in the nude in a police lineup so that you can identify his tallywhacker. Porky'S, released in 1981. It just sounded so funny, just yelling that out like that. But Porky'S, 1981, and is directed by Bob Clark, who's also behind such films like Black Christmas, Murder by Decree, Tribute, and probably his most famous film of all time, A Christmas Story. I think that's a fair claim to put out there. I mean, they have an entire dedication every Christmas day, 24 hours, and they play this movie on repeat. Yeah, it's his most successful film. Porky's is definitely the raunchiest and definitely the funniest, let's just put it that way. Though the sexual humor definitely doesn't hold up today, we'll get into it. But this film is starring Scott Columbia, Kaki Hunter, Nancy Parsons, Alex Karras, Susan Clark, and Kim Cattrall. And the reason why we're talking about Porky's today, I think this is one of those movies that I dreaded reviewing on this channel just because I knew... I watched it a couple of times in my younger years, and I know just the sexual humor. Oh my god, the things that they do in here, like, you would be expelled. You would be put behind bars if you were a teenager and you did the things that they did in this movie today. But you know what, back in the 80s it was a simpler time where people just wanted to have sex and just have fun with each other, especially when it comes to these teenage sex films. But the reason why we're talking about Porky's today is because it was a PayPal recommendation and donation from a big-time contributor and supporter of this channel, especially here in the last couple of months, here in 2024. Thank you very much, Jeffrey Fry, for the recommendation. If anyone else out there also wants to be like Jeffrey and help support me and contribute to this channel, you can select the QR code that is in the bottom left corner of your screen right now and send over your donation of $5 or more with your movie recommendation, and if I have access to it, I will watch it, review it, and give you a little shout out just like I did with Jeffrey Fry here. The year is 1954, and Porky is a big-time club owner that owns a little titty bar over in the Everglades. Well, one night 5 quote-unquote high schoolers show up at his bar looking for some action and looking to get laid, and Porky decides to humiliate them in front of all of his customers and regulars. So now these 5 quote-unquote teenagers take it upon themselves to get revenge on Porky, so that Porky can know what it's like to be humiliated and to be embarrassed in front of a whole bunch of people, and they also focus on a whole bunch of naked girls and trying to get laid in the process. Yeah, the plot of this movie is kind of all over the place. There is this main plot that leads to a climax of this club owner named Porky, who's a total dick, and is a total dick to these underage teenagers that come over to his bar, and then the ending of this film, the climax, is leading up to the quote-unquote teenagers getting revenge on him. But in the grand scheme of the entire plot, like, when they talk about Porky's and when they're doing the action, it's kind of a small fraction to the hour and a half that we get with this film and with these characters. Everything else is really about these kids trying to get laid, especially Pee-wee, who is obsessed with finally getting laid and with seeing naked women and just putting himself in situations to where he can get hard and just dream about having sex with his classmates. Now, I'm going to be honest, that's kind of how teenagers are just in general, because the chemicals are flowing and everything is changing and everything's confusing in your brain and you kind of just want to fuck everything. But it's a good thing that I was brought up and we live currently now in today's society when there's more information and there's more lessons and more instruction out there from certified professional people into telling you, hey, there's a thing called consent and there's a thing called sexual assault. These things that you're thinking about doing, don't do them in real life, please. Otherwise you will go to jail. However, back in the 80s and then going backwards farther in time in the 70s and 60s. Hell, the plot that takes place in here happens in the 50s. Yeah, we didn't have that. It was a very patriarchal society where the men just want the sex and they will do anything to get it, and the woman needs to comply with said request because that's the way things are, baby. So I am going to put that out here right away in the first part of this review that yes, the things that happen in this film definitely should not be done, because there are a lot of things in here that can be considered sexual assault. Not considered, they are sexual assault, and you should not do in your high school or anywhere, because people have rights to their bodies, and these boys, these characters in this film, definitely violate that. Now, that being said, this is a movie, this is a story, this isn't actually happening, so because it's a movie, I feel like we can just all relax and just enjoy ourselves for an hour and a half and just watching a whole bunch of actors on screen just have a great time with each other. Because that's exactly what's happening here. Hell, we even have a character in the end during the credits just break the fourth wall, look at the camera and goes, jeez, that's how unserious we're taking this entire thing. They're all just having fun. And I'm here for it because, damn it, it's hilarious. It's one of the funniest scenes that has ever been put on screen, in my opinion. The Tallywhacker scene. How Nancy Parsons is able to keep a straight face almost the entire time and not break and just carry on with her dialogue while she has a couple of other actors who are absolutely losing it. I'm sure they did several takes, so in some of the takes they are acting laughing, you know, dying laughing, but there are moments, especially in the scene that made it into the final cut, where you can tell this is genuine, uncontrollable laughter. And this person, whenever I hear uncontrollable laughter from everyone, I don't know about you, but I have to get in on it. I just start laughing too. Even though what Ballbricker is saying about what happened in the girls' locker room, how that's awful and that shouldn't happen, just hearing the laughter in the background, you can't help but laugh at it. Seriously, if you have not watched that scene, pause this review, go watch it, look it up, Porky's Tallywhacker. It's a riot. And the rest of the movie, it's pretty much that. Just these teenage boys pulling pranks on each other and other people. And it's just something that you can just sit back and laugh your ass off over because it's funny. But they also try to get away from the funniest and take a break from it at certain points. And we have characters coming in, they're beat up because they went out to Porky's just to tell him who's boss. And yeah, I broke up the fight. I stopped it with my face. Or you have the deadbeat dad showing up at the school dance and he's beating up on his kid because he's drunk, and the kid's like, you know what? You'll never touch me again. Go ahead and do it. Do it in front of the cop, and yeah, you'll never hit me and touch me again. I'm a cool teenager, quote unquote. Now, what I realized watching this film this time around, I noticed that this movie is about the popular kids in school. Like, they're the jocks. And it wasn't done in like a parody type of way, and we're not trying to tear these people down. Like, no, these were the cool kids in high school. And they're the main focus, and we're still trying to keep them the cool kids. But that's totally not what... And it's probably John Hughes who changed that around in the 80s when he did high school films and teenage films based on the nerds, or the quiet person, or the emo girl, or the depressed boy, or the reject in the background who's always in detention. Ever since John Hughes, whenever we get these teenage sex movies, we always focus on the underdog. We always focus on the nerd, or the person who can't get laid. But here, in this film, really everyone who's part of this group and a part of this circle is a popular kid. Every kid, teenager in this high school, looks up to this little gang and this little group who's going after Porky's eventually. And all I can say is I'm glad things changed. I'm glad John Hughes changed the game in the 80s and we started looking at the underdog more, because I don't think these films would have had a long shelf life, and obviously they didn't, if we just stayed focused on the popular people the entire time. But for what it's worth, and from the time that we get with this movie, you know, these characters are still fun to watch. And I love how they're just breaking constantly. One of the coaches tells the younger coach to take Honeywell up the male jock room upstairs and just go to town, and to see why they call her Lassie. And they're constantly breaking as they're talking about it. I love that stuff. I love seeing actors break on screen. It makes me happy. Porky's is definitely something for my generation, for the generation before me. I don't know if a Gen Zer would watch this movie today and find this funny. If you are a Gen Zer and you're watching this review, or you're subbed to my channel, please comment and let me know what you think about this, because this film came out before I was born, and this stuff was funny to me, and I don't think it's considered funny now. But definitely comment and please let me know if you're a Gen Zer, if this is considered funny in your little circle. I'm going to give Porky's 4 out of 5 Blu-rays.
I like it a lot.
So guys, if you've seen Porky's, what did you think about it? Or if you've never seen it before and you stumbled across because of this video, then comment below and let me know what you thought about it. And as always, if you like what you see here, if you like my take on movies, then hit the subscribe button and make sure you hit that bell. See you the next time I'm releasing my next movie review. So guys, I will see you next time on the channel, but in the meantime, be well, be good to each other, and go watch a movie. Take care, guys.